This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class. These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Today, we're going to be learning what to do in the event of an active shooter. We're gonna bring in a special guest. She's actually an expert on this, and she's going to be leading our team building event. This is Kaylee.
If there was an active shooter, you'd all be dead. When you talk out loud, the shooter can tell where you are and where you're hiding. Sometimes we play the game who can stay quietest the longest, so we all remember. You can try and protect your friends by pushing the tables and chairs against the doors. You also have to put a piece of paper over the door window so they can't see in. And you can't cry. It gives away your position and your hiding spot. And if you're in the bathrooms, you have to stand on the toilet seat and crunch down so they can't see your feet and they can't see your head, so they don't know that you're in there.
That's crazy.
Try to listen for things that could help the police. For example, if you hear a lot of bangs like bang, 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 the shooter might be down the hall. Or if you hear louder ones like bang, 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 he could be right outside your door. If the shooter comes in the room, screaming won't do anything. You have to try and fight back. If you can't escape, we get taught the emergency window escape plan, where you have to break a window, put clothes over the frame, and climb through. Our teacher used to sing a song to make it easy to remember. Lockdown, let's all hide. Lock the doors and stay inside. Crouch on down, don't make a sound, and don't cry or you'll be found.
Do you know any 3-year-olds that are criminal or national security threats to the United States? I'd like to start off asking about the case of Sophie, who was a 3-year-old. She crossed the border last year with her grandmother. They went to a legal point of entry in Texas, and this was after the president had purportedly already ended the family separation policy. Her grandmother carried guardianship documents. This is according to a PBS article. Her grandmother also had Sophie's birth certificate and her asylum request. Nevertheless, she was separated. Sophie's mother was here in the U.S. legally for days. They had no idea where she was. Eventually tracked her down in Pennsylvania. I'm gonna show you on a video what happened on day 47. So if we could play the video. Chief Hastings, Sophie is not a criminal or national security threat to the United States as a 3-year-old, correct?
I don't know the background in this case, sir.
Do you know any 3-year-olds that are criminal or national security threats to the United States?
No, I don't.
Okay. Sophie's grandmother was not a national security or criminal threat to the United States, correct?
I don't know, again, I don't know the background of what her grandmother or relatives were.
So, according to the PBS article, it took 47 days to reunite Sophie, and eventually the mother was allowed to call Sophie one time a week, and eventually, on the phone, the mother noticed that Sophie started to change, that she seemed to want to hang up quickly, and her mother was worried that Sophie had given up on seeing her family again. So I want to show you now a second video about what happens with family separations. If we play that video as well.
Mi amor, yo soy tu mami, papi, yo soy tu mami. Dime, ¿verdad que tiene hijo? Dime, papi, yo me vine por ti, mi amor. Dime, exacto. Papi, vete, mi amor, yo me vine por ti.
Earlier at the hearing, Congresswoman Lucy McBath talked about the American Academy of Pediatrics statement opposing separation of children and parents at the border. She asked Chief Hastings about it. He was not familiar with it nor the research. So I'm going to ask Commander White about this statement. The AAP says that separating children from their parents contradicts everything we stand for as pediatricians, protecting and promoting children's health. In fact, highly stressful experiences like family separation can cause irreparable harm, disrupting a child's brain architecture and affecting his or her short-term and long-term health. This type of prolonged exposure to serious stress, known as toxic stress, can carry lifelong consequences for children. Are you familiar with that statement?
I am familiar with that statement. I agree with it. It reflects accepted scientific fact. The images you have shown are consistent with what we would expect to see in children in that age group who've experienced family separation and speak to the potential harms that its separation inflicts on children.
Thank you very much.
Le prometí que íbamos a estar juntos. Yo creo que ella fue perdiendo la fe porque nunca fue mi intención dejarla sola.
Ella lloraba siempre que nosotros dijimos que no iba a venir. Como siempre, ella lloraba y se encerraba en su cuarto. Yo sí siento que no la supe cuidar bien. Yo sí siento que en algo fallé. No sé qué fue, pero no sé por qué. No sé por qué. Tal vez yo no la supe cuidar bien.
Que me perdone si le fallé. Que me perdone porque no podía estar en ese momento.
Gamez was given an ankle monitor and a 2-week humanitarian parole so he could see his daughter one last time.
Your indifference costs these men and women their most valuable commodity, time. I can't help but think what an incredible metaphor this room is for the entire process that getting health care and benefits for 9/11 first responders has come to. Behind me, a filled room of 9/11 first responders. And in front of me, a nearly empty Congress. Sick and dying, they brought themselves down here to speak to no one. It's shameful. It's an embarrassment to the country, and it is a stain on this institution. And you should be ashamed of yourselves for those that aren't here, but you won't be. Because accountability doesn't appear to be something that occurs in this chamber. We don't want to be here. Lou doesn't want to be here. None of these people want to be here. But they are, and they're not here for themselves. They're here to continue fighting for what's right. Lou's gonna go back for his 69th chemo. The great Ray Pfeiffer would come down here, his body riddled with cancer and pain, where he couldn't walk. And the disrespect shown to him and to the other lobbyists on this bill is utterly unacceptable. I would be so angry at the latest injustice that's done to these men and women. And, another business card thrown our way as a way of shooing us away, like children trick-or-treating, rather than the heroes that they are and will always be. Ray would say, "Calm down, Johnny, calm down. I got all the cards I need." And he would tap his pocket. Where he kept the prayer cards. 343 firefighters. The official FDNY response time to 9/11 was 5 seconds. 5 seconds. That's how long it took for FDNY, for NYPD, for Port Authority, for EMS to respond to an urgent need from the public. 5 seconds. Hundreds died in an instant. Thousands more poured in to continue to fight for their brothers and sisters. The breathing problem started almost immediately, and they were told they weren't sick, they were crazy. And then, as the illnesses got worse and things became more apparent, well, okay, you're sick, but it's not from the pile. And then, when the science became irrefutable, okay, it's the pile. But this is a New York issue. I don't know if we have the money. And I'm sorry if I sound angry and undiplomatic, but I'm angry. And you should be too, and they're all angry as well. And they have every justification to be that way. There is not a person here, there is not an empty chair on that stage that didn't tweet out, "Never forget the heroes of 9/11. Never forget their bravery. Never forget what they did, what they gave to this country." Well, here they are. And where are they? And it would be one thing if their callous indifference and rank hypocrisy were benign, but it's not. Your indifference cost these men and women their most valuable commodity, time. And the idea that you can only give them 5 more years of the VCF because you're not quite sure what's going to happen 5 years from now, well, I can tell you, I'm pretty sure what's going to happen 5 years from now. More of these men and women are going to get sick and they are going to die. And I am awfully tired of hearing that it's a 9/11 New York issue. Al-Qaeda didn't shout death to Tribeca. They attacked America, and these men and women and their response to it is what brought our country back. It's what gave a reeling nation a solid foundation to stand back upon, to remind us of why this country is great, of why this country is worth fighting for, and you are ignoring them. Why this bill isn't unanimous consent and a standalone issue is beyond my comprehension. And I have yet to hear a reasonable explanation for why. It'll get stuck in some transportation bill or some appropriations bill and get sent over to the Senate, where a certain someone from the Senate will use it as a political football to get themselves maybe another new import tax on petroleum, because that's what happened to us in 2015. And we won't allow it to happen again. Thank God for people like John Field. Thank God for people like Ray Pfeiffer. Thank God for all of these people who will not let it happen. They responded in 5 seconds. They did their jobs with courage, grace, tenacity, humility. 18 years later, do yours. Thank you.
¿Y sentías segura en esos centros?
No. Vinimos a Estados Unidos, donde yo esperaba construir una vida mejor y más segura para mi hija Marie. Lastimosamente, vi morir a mi niña, lenta y muy dolorosamente, unos meses antes de su segundo cumpleaños. Ella dejó de existir. Me duele revivir esta experiencia y recordar lo que yo sufrí. Pero estoy aquí porque el mundo debe saber lo que está sucediendo con tantos niños en las cárceles dentro de la detención de ICE. Mi hermosa niña se ha ido ahora, pero espero que su historia estimule al gobierno de los Estados Unidos a actuar para que niños no mueran por negligencia y maltrato que dan.
Gracias, señora Juárez, por venir aquí hoy con el valor de compartir su historia. Quiero empezar con una pregunta que es muy importante. Primeramente, la ley de los Estados Unidos requiere que los niños se mantengan en condiciones seguras y sanitarias. Usted y su hija bebé estaban aquí en estas condiciones. En la opinión de usted, ¿estas condiciones estaban seguras y sanitarias? ¿Sí o no?
No.
No estaban seguras ni sanitarias. No. Pero también quiero preguntarle una cosa más. ¿Ha visto con sus propios ojos una cultura de crueldad adentro de estas facilidades?
Cuando yo estuve en detención en las jaulas, nos dieron una entrevista telefónicamente con los oficiales de inmigración ICE, en la cual a mí me hablaron sobre qué era lo que yo venía a hacer en el país, a qué y por qué. Yo le respondí que yo venía a sacar adelante a mi hija, pero ellos casi no nos dejaban hablar. Y él me dijo con estas palabras: tú sabes que este es un país de americanos que mi presidente es Donald Trump y que te podemos quitar a tu hija y a ti te podemos encerrar en la cárcel. Y yo recuerdo que yo me puse a llorar porque me quedé sin palabras como para poder responderles. Eso para mí es maltrato.
¿Recuerda si en algún momento usted o cualquier otra mujer en el centro fueron llamadas por nombres groseros por los oficiales de la patrulla fronteriza?
Nombres groseros, no, pero sí palabras que a nosotros nos afectaban.
¿Y cuál palabras?
Como ustedes son inmigrantes, cosas así inofensivas. A mí no tanto, pero en solo la llamada me dijeron esas fuertes palabras en la cual me dejaron sin responderles y con el derecho y la oportunidad de responderles del por qué yo venía a este país.
¿Y sentías segura en esos centros?
No.
And Mr. Chair, I just think it's extremely important that this is noted, that this is not an issue. You know, there are debates about money and resources, that's for another day. But what is being pointed to here is a culture of cruelty. To have a CBP officer tell a migrant woman escaping unspeakable horrors in her home country and tell them this country is for Americans, and to threaten separating her from her daughter, to threaten a human rights violation is extraordinarily concerning and at a bare minimum grounds for serious investigation by this committee and other entities. Thank you.
And that's what we're doing, so thank you very much, Ms. Ocasio-Cortez.
This was a facility that wasn't even on our radar screen until last week when we heard that a significant number of children appeared to be moved to this facility, which is an adult Border Patrol facility. Once we saw the roster with the children there, we saw that there were infants, toddlers, preschoolers, school-age children, over 350 of them on Monday when we arrived. We immediately started to bring the youngest children in there and the children who appeared to have been held there the longest and started to ask them about conditions. The children were dirty, they were sad, many of them were sick. We found out that there was an influenza outbreak there, that children are being put into isolation, that children are sleeping on concrete floors. They're reporting not being able to sleep at night because of the conditions. Some of them are sleeping on cement blocks. They are not being fed adequate amounts of food. They're being given no fruit, no vegetables, the same instant foods every single day, day after day. The children don't have anyone to care for them, and so the guards are bringing in younger children who have been taken away from their parents or other family members and are asking who in this room wants to take care of this little boy or this little girl. The children, some of them are 7 or 8 years old and are being asked to take care of toddlers or preschoolers, and they simply don't know how. So we had a 2-year-old boy who was brought to us with no diaper. When I asked the little girl why he didn't have a diaper on, she said that he didn't need one, and he immediately peed in front of me right there in the conference room chair. They are tired. They were falling asleep during the interviews. They were sleeping on the conference table. They were falling asleep in the chairs. We have a health and humanity crisis going on at these facilities, and we need to put these children back with their families. Many of the children, almost all the children that we interviewed, had family here in the U.S., and that's where they need to go. But I can't imagine it being any worse than what we saw this week at the Clint Border Patrol facility and last week at Ursula, when we had to get a preemie medical attention because the child appeared to be dying. There are almost half a dozen children who have died in recent months in these facilities, and now we know why.
Did you teach your children, your daughters, hatred?
Absolutely not, Congresswoman. I remember my Yusur telling me that this condescending man told her he hated how she looked and dressed. He made it very clear to my children that they were not welcome in their own neighborhood.
Does Islam teach Muslims to hate Jewish people?
Absolutely not, sir. The mainstream Islam, and I am a practicing Muslim, prohibits hating anybody based on religion or ethnicity or faith or nationality. Actually, in the Quran, it says that killing any human being is akin to killing humanity, and reviving a soul is akin to reviving humanity.
By the very fact of being Muslim, you are not you are not filling children or those in the mosque with hatefulness.
Absolutely. We fight this, actually.
I'm really confused when the good doctor says that Islam does not teach hatred of Jews. There's no problems with that issue. We really need to have Muslims step up, and there has to be a reformation and a rethinking of the aspects of the Quran that promote hatred against Jews. Why are half the world's Muslims anti-Semitic? We have to talk about this Muslim anti-Semitism because this is endangering Jews really in America and throughout the world.
I was trained in medical school by Jewish professors. I have Jewish friends. My son has best friends who are Jewish. The Jewish community came to our rescue, and we had an interfaith night after the New Zealand massacre. But I find it troubling that Mr. Klein turned this conversation into almost an Islamophobic conversation, where I'm talking about my tragedy and my loss as a Muslim.
I've been in the United States since 6 months old, you know, and just 2.5 weeks ago, immigration agent pulled me over, said I'm going to Iraq, and I refused. I said I've never been there. I've been in this country my whole life. But they just wouldn't listen to me. They wouldn't let me call my family, nothing. They just said, you're going to Iraq, and your best bet is to cooperate with us. That way we're not going to chain you up, or we'll put you on our commercial flight. I begged them. I said, please, I've never seen that country. I've never been there. However, they forced me. I'm here now, and I don't understand the language, anything. I've been sleeping in the street. I'm diabetic. I take insulin shots. I've been throwing up, sleeping in the street, trying to find something to eat. You know, I got nothing over here, as you can see. I was kicked in the back a couple days ago, claiming to get off the guy's property. I was sleeping on the ground. He claimed it's his property. You know, I begged him. I said, please, sir, I've never seen this country. I don't understand language. You know, nobody speaks English.
I spoke to CPB agents, even though they told us not to speak to them too. Remember that? And I said, what do you think we need to do because you guys are overwhelmed? They said, one of them, stop sending money, it's not working. Another one said, I wasn't trained for this. I am not a social worker, not a medical care worker. He actually said, I want to be at the border. That's what I was trained to be at. The last one, Mr. Chairman, the separation policy isn't working, he said. He knew about the separation policy that he was enacting. CPP morale is one of the lowest among law enforcement agencies, Mr. Chairman. Since between 2017 and 2018, we had a high of 100 agents committing suicide. That needs to be put in record. The dehumanization is not only with those families, but it's also with the agents that we've had told to do this to these families. Mr. Speaker, we do have a crisis at our border. It is one of morality. As we have seen this current strategy unfold, intentional and cruelly created by the Trump administration, dead set on sending a hate-filled message that those seeking refuge are not welcome in America, in our America, and that the rule of law, human rights will not protect him here. First, no one is illegal. That term is derogatory now because it dehumanizes people. You can say any other forms of maybe coming in without regulations or so forth, but the use of illegal is disrespectful, and I ask my colleagues to try in so many ways to not dehumanize our immigrant neighbors that are trying to come in for a safe haven. Mr. Speaker, while working at human service and community advocacy organizations, I learned early on that to truly bring power to the table, to see what is at stake, you have to bring people in the room who can't be here. So I'm asking for Jacqueline, who's was age 7, from Guatemala, who died from sepsis while in our care. She was the same age as my son when I heard about it. I've been so deeply haunted by the unforgettable image of a 4-year-old boy coming up to me through a glass door of a cell he was in with a number of other children, asked me in Spanish where his papa was, and slid a very small board to me so I could write something on it. It was like a dry board. Chairman, again, bringing those who can't be here into this room, I asked my colleagues to see a drawing from one of the children in the cages, in the cells, and I want you to not look away. I ask you and beg you not to look away. But the suffering in these illegal and immoral camps isn't just limited to those children. Something I learned, Mr. Chairman, is that mothers, fathers, grandparents who are suffering, ripped away from their families, not knowing if they ever see their children and loved ones again. I won't forget Daisy, the grandmother who had a red ribbon on her wrist with the name of the medication she needs, who said she had been in detention for 40 days. And she hadn't seen her grandson, who was mentally impaired, since being separated from him when they arrived. The fear in their eyes won't be forgotten, Mr. Speaker. The suffering in these illegal camps cannot be forgotten. Imagine traveling thousands of miles in grueling and dangerous conditions because you have no other option, only to be separated from your family, from your children, thrown into overcrowded cages, denied a shower, toothbrush, and yes, Mr. Chairman, drink water out of the toilet if you're thirsty. Mr. Chairman, it needs to be noted into record